When it comes then untuk individu yang berlainan kebolehan, sometimes the brain pathway tu dia tak sempurna.
Those things sebenarnya daripada lahir pun dah ada, kita boleh nampak. Dan masa dia lahir tu kita tak kaitkan dengan autism. And then masa tu bila fikir balik, even nak potong kuku kan, dia dah tidur lena baru boleh potong, itu pun satu kuku. And then tunggu session nap seterusnya, lagi beberapa kuku.
Sebenarnya Hans ni sejak baby yang berumur sehari pun dah ada signs of sensory processing. Dia tak tahan panas. Dia tak tahan panas. And you know,
so he didn't like to be swaddled.
Dia tak boleh langsung diswaddle.
Dibengkung tak boleh.
Tak boleh. Dan for the first, I'm sorry Hans, I'm revealing this, for the first 2 months of his life, dia tak pakai seluar langsung.
Selamat datang ke Kita Family Podcast. Hari ini kita akan membincangkan berkenaan bulan Oktober yang sangat special, iaitu bulan Sensory Awareness Month dan juga Mental Health Awareness Month. So, katalah 2 in 1. Tapi kami di Kita Family membincangkan perihal berkaitan dengan makna serta kepentingan hidup bermasyarakat, menghargai keunikan serta kepelbagaian sesama kita dan meraihkan masyarakat yang berbilang agama, kaum, kepercayaan, rupa dan juga keupayaan. Kami juga menghargai hidup secara inklusif yang mengambil kira keperluan segenap lapisan masyarakat, terutamanya bagi mereka yang kurang atau berkelainan upaya. Bersama saya hari ini dalam episod ke-34 adalah Desiree.
Hai, salam sejahtera.
Kakak SK.
Apa khabar?
Dan dari Kota Kinabalu, Didi.
Hai, Assalamualaikum, salam sejahtera.
Pada hari ini kami akan membincangkan satu konsep yang mungkin bukan konsep yang sering diperkatakan, tetapi ia adalah konsep yang sangat penting untuk anak-anak yang neurodivergent dan juga neurotypical pada saya. Kenapa? Kerana ia adalah konsep sensory processing atau pemprosesan sensori. Ada di kalangan kami yang mempunyai gangguan pemprosesan sensori ataupun sensory processing disorder. Apakah benda tu? Ia adalah satu konsep di mana deria kami, yang 5 jenis deria, mempunyai ada hyper atau hypo, iaitu terlalu banyak sensitif atau kurang sensitif, dan dalam pada itu mengeksibitkan kelakuan-kelakuan yang kadang-kadang dikatakan keterlaluan, maybe extreme or maybe a bit muted. So macam tak sensitif sangat. So ini adalah berkenaan dengan kelima-lima deria, iaitu deria rasa, deria dengar, penglihatan, deria sentuh iaitu touch dan juga rasa. Untuk memulakan berkenaan isu-isu ini, hari ini saya akan tanya kepada Kakak SK dulu, iaitu apakah what is the role Kakak of sensory processing in the context of neurodivergent individuals, and how is it someone can identify it?
Okay. So, dalam kata tu, what is it? Apakah dia? Kenapa kami semua perlukan kenalkan deria-deria ini? Actually, this is basically a protective mechanism for every individual. Yeah. Protectionnya, for example, kalau keterlaluan bau ke, pendengaran ke, gangguan tu memang macam bagi alarm system, kan? Something is not right. So that is alert. Yeah. The other way is the defense system of the body naturally. If it's too much or too little, maybe they need to go towards and get more of that sensation. Now, what is all sensation about? Sebenarnya, part of the development of the brain is when everybody is born, the brain is still developing. Yeah. So as we develop, all these senses will get sharpened, or they may need to be muted. Either way, it's not whether it's good or it's bad. Some needs to be improved. So for example, your deria penglihatan, as you sharpen and train and you as you know, everything that we train, whether it's in learning or in the feelings, it gets sharpened. Yeah. So when it comes then untuk individu yang berlainan kebolehan, sometimes the brain pathway tu dia tak sempurna. Okay. So for example, if I take the example of penglihatan, where maybe the light becomes too overstimulating, kan? So anak-anak ni akan diganggu lah. That's the word we use, yeah, the disturbance. The other one, quite common sometimes, is the sense of hearing. They may be able to hear very, very fine sound that we are not aware of. For example, we may hear them saying, there's noise actually of the aircon buzz. And if your listening sense is not that sensitive, you won't hear it.
Yeah.
And you're wondering why is this individual disturbed? Yeah. So either way, in every part of our senses, these are our natural mechanisms sebenarnya that will guard us from ourselves. Yeah. That my sense needs protection. Yeah.
That sounds interesting. Sebab kadang-kadang kita ada jumpa kanak-kanak yang akan rasa terganggu dan tidak selesa dengan lights and disco lights and then bright lights. That's why kita mempunyai mall yang autism friendly, yang lighting dia adalah di dim, itu dim lighting, so that it doesn't become too glaring. Dengan sound juga, sebab kadang-kadang kita akan perhatikan bahawa anak-anak akan berjalan dengan menggunakan menutup telinga, right? Or wearing headphones. Well, it's trendy to wear headphones. Some people use it to mute out sound. So let's go to Didi and ask her, okay, what her experience is with sensory processing.
Well, bila kita dah belajar tentang sensory processing kan, usually like I think the first 6 months bila anak dah mula pergi OT, dah dapat diagnosis dah pergi OT, barulah kita faham, barulah kita pernah dengar pasal sensory processing ni. Kalau sebelum tu kita autism pun tak berapa nak faham.
Betul.
Dan kemudian bila dah dapat diagnosis kan, tak pernah dengar kan tentang
Tak
sensory
pernah.
processing ni.
I rasa I setahun kot lepas masuk OT.
It takes like lama lah nak faham kan. And it seems that bila dah faham tu, looking back kan, selalu orang cakap tanda-tanda autism ni bila berumur 18 bulan ke atas baru nampak. It's more on the development of the communication, socialization kan. Dia tak dengan cara bercakap, macam mana dia react kepada kita ibu bapa kan. Tapi bila kita cakap pasal sensory ni, sebenarnya tanda-tanda masalah sensory ni daripada lahir lagi. This is especially true for my eldest daughter tau. Bila tengok balik lah, sebab masa kecil, masa dia lahir, kita tak faham. So kita tak tahulah, oh this is sensory. And in fact, I would say that she was an easy baby due to the sensory processing. Sebab dia tak menangis bila diaper dia basah atau dia dah buang air. Kita rasa macam bagusnya, tapi kena check selalu lah, kena check selalu. Tak adalah sampai dia ada ruam ke apa, of course we check. So dia jadi macam mudah diurus. And then later kita faham sebenarnya dia hyposensitive. Dia tak rasa kan? So dia tak rasa rimas, dia tak menangis. And then dia tak suka didukung. So many times kan dia bukan dia tak suka didukung direct tau, tapi dia boleh didukung dengan pakai baby carrier. Kalau baby carrier kita tak pakai tangan, dia dah kan the whole structure of that thing kan, the cloth tu yang hold the baby up on our chest. So yang tu dia suka. Stroller, many times kita pergi shopping bawa stroller, tapi end up stroller tu kena lipat masuk dalam trolley supermarket sebab dia menangis. Dia tak suka tau stroller. Dia kena dukung tapi tak boleh dukung direct, kena dukung dengan baby carrier. So such macam benda yang spesifik at that time. Then of course bila kita dah faham, oh this is sensory, dia tak suka macam ni, dia tak suka macam ni, tak suka kena peluk lah, tak suka even bila kita breastfeed dia pun tak boleh pegang kuat-kuat. Dia tak suka. You know, that's why macam usually macam baring sama dengan dia. Kalau baring sama dengan dia, less body contact. Kalau kita pangku dia, we really have to hold kan. Nanti jatuh lah dia kan. So those things sebenarnya daripada lahir pun dah ada, kita boleh nampak. Dan masa dia lahir tu kita tak, of course kita tak kaitkan dengan autism. And then masa tu bila fikir balik, even nak potong kuku kan, dia dah tidur lena baru boleh potong, itu pun satu kuku. And then tunggu session nap seterusnya. Oh, lagi beberapa kuku. Tak boleh nak habiskan dalam sekali satu sesi, waktu sedar memang langsung tak boleh lah. So, I really understood that it was because of sensory, sebab bila dia pergi OT yang buat sensory integration, right? Dia pergi baru start tak sampai seminggu, terus dia yang minta untuk potong kuku. Dia dah boleh pergi, kita bawa dia pergi kedai gunting rambut pun dia dah boleh tolerate. So those thing yang macam kita tak boleh bayang yang dia ada kena-mengena ataupun ada cara yang kita boleh solve kan. Sebab kalau kita cakap pasal autism as communication and social deficit, kita mungkin guna cara social story. So that's one thing as well. Of course, that will reduce the anxiety. But if we don't tackle the sensory part, still dia akan susah kan nak settle kan. So itu antara pengalaman lah dari segi sensory yang sampai sekarang pun masih ada challenges, tapi sebab kita dah faham sensory itu apa, and having them able to tell us kan, macam oh saya tak suka yang ni, saya suka yang ni, and of course kita pun bila nak pergi mana-mana bagi tahu oh dia macam apa expectation. So of course it helps in a way, tapi it's still a challenge sebab kita kena faham dan ada masa-masa that kita perlu ada exit plan lah when it becomes too much and they cannot bear the situation kan. So I think kena ni lah, probably walk away, cari calming space or whatever. So sensory processing for both of my children memang affected. And of course until now dia tak adalah kata macam because you dah pergi OT it has resolved, but it is manageable, and we actually boleh tengok lah bila hari dia macam lompat-lompat, oh what kind of sensory input that they need. So it's very important lah that we have the knowledge on sensory processing.
Okay, so now I'm going to go to Desiree and ask her experience and what she probably learned even when she studied a little bit more about special education needs.
Okay, so sensory processing ni Desiree masih tengah belajar, because what I'm discovering is sensory profile ni dia sentiasa berubah sebenarnya. It is never stagnant. Especially in our children that are neurodivergent, dia akan tukar over time, and sometimes over time dalam sesuatu masa pun in that particular area they are over and under stimulated at the same time. So yang tu pun boleh jadi cabaran. But I'm also a firm believer of looking at it from a learning and brighter perspective kan. So contohnya Hans memang suka sangat flapping. So we never found a reason to stop it sebab dia buat dengan secara happy. Kan? Tadi bila Didi cerita tentang anak dia masa baby, saya pun teringat dan masa tu belum tahu apa tu sensory processing and all that. Bila belajar tentang sensory processing, baru sedar bahawa sebenarnya Hans ni sejak baby yang berumur sehari pun dah ada signs of sensory processing. Dia tak tahan panas. Dia tak tahan panas. And you know,
So he didn't like to be swaddled.
dia tak boleh langsung diswaddle.
Dibekung tak boleh.
Tak boleh. Dan for the first, I'm sorry Hans, I'm revealing this. For the first 2 months of his life, dia tak pakai seluar langsung.
Okay.
Pakai pampers atau napkin sahaja. Dan dilipat loosely with a napkin to cover the legs and a light blanket. Itu sahaja. Dia langsung tak boleh dipakaikan seluar. And the other thing is masa tidur malam, he was a bit of a colicky baby. So I did, sebenarnya banyak benda yang saya buat is it goes against a lot of our traditional pantang. Contohnya aircon. Memang saya buka aircon untuk dia sebab the first night bila kita bawa Hans pulang dari hospital, memanglah we off the aircon, buka kipas kat tepi-tepi, pakai long pants, pakai long sleeve, tutup kepala dia, siap berambut, full head of hair, okay, when he was born, but tutup kepala dia lagi, swaddle lagi, blanket lagi. And then just as I went to bed, tiba-tiba he screamed so loudly, dan bila angkat dia, he was sweating. Cuba bayangkan, pernah tak dengar baby yang berpeluh? Baby yang berumur 2 hari. So we were like, okay, maybe dia tak tahan panas. So, you know, we thought, okay, never mind, let's do things our own way. Masa tu pun memang dah kekurangan tidur. So, we do whatever it takes to get through the night. So, we actually learn, my husband and I, we learn a lot of things instinctively. And because he was colicky, dia memang suka tidur on his tummy. Tapi we check lah in the middle of the night, make sure his head is, you know, he doesn't smother himself or whatever. And the other thing which I realised much later, walaupun he's on his tummy, we had to put a very small pillow dekat belakang on his back. Baru dia tidur dengan ringan. Because he needed that little bit of comfort and pressure. Sampai sekarang pun dia tidur walaupun maybe dia dah boleh tahan panas, dia suka tidur pakai blanket. So he needs to feel that snugness. You know, so and in terms of his sensory processing now, he is one of those kids that like to put his hands on his ears, but at the same time, bukan sebab dia tak suka bunyi tu. Dia nak dengar bunyi in a certain frequency sahaja. So dia akan adjust kekuatan dia pegang telinga dia. Dan dia memang tidak suka the noise cancellation headphones. Dan bila dia dengar lagu dari mobile phone, dari YouTube, dia akan position speaker of the phone dekat dengan telinga dia. So he wants to get that specific frequency. Kan? So Hans is your classic sensory seeker. So selain daripada bunyi, banyaklah benda actually. Sesiapa yang pernah tengok my social media mesti ada tengok Hans on the trampoline. Atas trampoline tu ada big gym ball. Lepas tu he will bounce on the gym ball and on the trampoline. Because he is a sensory seeker. Kan? And one more example is tiptoeing. So masa Hans kecil, he was very prone to long bouts of flu and very high fever. So setiap kali dia demam and the fever goes up to a certain, like a very high, like 39 point something, I notice he starts to tiptoe. So when that happens, biasanya masa tu saya akan bagi tahu dekat OT yang datang ke rumah saya, say teacher, dia dah start to tiptoe. So dia akan do more intense brushing and pressure on the feet. Dan Hans memang suka pakai socks yang ketat sedikit. So after a few days, sometimes up to a week, by itself, I believe he gets the sensation that he needs, dan dia akan stop tiptoeing. Tapi baru-baru ni saya rasa dalam 2 tahun lebih dah dia tak tiptoe. Also because we found the reason behind why dia selalu demam. So we fix that. So no demam, no tiptoe. I guess. So sebenarnya banyak sensory processing ni, like Anit cakap dengan di permulaan episod tadi pun, dalam orang-orang yang neurotypical pun memang ada, like we have our own sensory preferences kan, which I'm sure nanti kita boleh bincang sedikit lah tentang tu juga.
So I boleh share that untuk Nirav, dia memang sangat memilih pakaian. So he chooses his clothes. And there's like certain t-shirts, okay lah, we also have the same. We want to wear the same t-shirt and that's our favorite in the house. So he has those ones. But with everything that I buy, he makes sure he takes off the tags. And I think I learned that very early because he would start going itchy and start crying when he couldn't speak. And you would wonder, okay, he's had a shower, we've dressed him up so well, but the textures just did not suit him. And come on, we come from an Indian family, and then when it comes to Indian festival clothes, oh my god, itchy. And then
His middle name.
Poking, so we had to choose like very light cottons for him, and things that I know is something that he still cherishes till today. And he will choose his own clothes, and because he likes the certain textures, and but apparently that's also quite common with neurotypicals.
Yeah. Actually, if I can just interrupt, saya teringat yang Didi and Desiree terpapas today. Sebenarnya, when I remember Joshua as a baby, when I was nursing him, breastfeeding, memang dia tak seronok
Oh ya, Nira pun sama. Sebab dia peluh.
Berpeluh. Baby yang berpeluh.
Joshua tak berpeluh, tapi dia tak duduk natural Okay. Yeah. It's only in reflection. Sebenarnya, we mentioned just now all this different sensation. There is one that we professionally look at it as their sense of their joint space. Their sense of position. Memang dia tak natural. So that, in a way, now in reflection, when we started to learn about sensory processing, and is even very early, as parents, we can be aware. That something is different. And to tambah dalam what you mentioned about the putting something on
The
Hans,
the pillow.
I think as a typical baby, many parents put a pillow.
Yes.
And that actually is part of a way to provide a sense of pressure. Tadi kan cakap proprioception that the child needs. And this, again, even typical children, because bila dia bayi tu, the nerve cells semua belum develop lagi. These are all the natural way of parenting kan, to help the child start to develop their sense of that particular sense. So when does it go not typical? Is by a certain age, that child would have developed that and will not need that kind of support. And that's where, when we notice that the child hasn't progressed, then we need to get additional help. Kan? So it's really fascinating as we bincang sekarang. Sebenarnya, you may not need to be professionally trained, but instinctively, many ways of bringing up babies already is part of identifying all the senses as part of their development. That's why then when they grow up from babies to toddlers to go to school, a lot of it continues to train naturally their sensory system.
Okay, so to conclude, Didi, would it be correct to say that when a parent does not understand sensory processing atau gangguan or sensory processing disorder ataupun gangguan pemprosesan sensory, it can take a toll on the mental health of the parent. What would be your thoughts on that?
Of course, sebab kita tak faham, and then kan I think pernah cakap in one of the episode, and then Anit pun cakap dia pun ada buku What to Expect. So there's what to expect when you're expecting, and then what to expect during first year kan. So in that book tak ada mention pasal sensory processing.
Not at all. Not at all.
Ada langsung.
Tak ada kan. So bila anak kita lain, kita dah lah kita pun new mother, kita tak faham, nak rujuk buku pun dalam buku tak ada. Of course kita akan stress, and kita rasa there are times kan bila new mother ni kita rasa sangat lonely, yang kita rasa macam bila kita rasa lonely, kita tak tahu nak tanya siapa, kita rasa kita fail. Kenapa anak tak boleh tidur malam? Kenapa anak lain daripada lain? Kenapa anak tak suka saya peluk dia? Tak sayang ke? Like can't you feel my love? Like is my love not enough ke apa? Of course it will datangkan macam-macam perasaan negatif lah. Lagi-lagi kalau kita tak cukup sokongan, dan macam saya cakap dalam usia yang muda as young mother, lepas tu bila kita pasangan yang muda kan, suami kita pun muda, baru pengalaman pertama ada anak, kita mudah rasa tertekan lah, of course, sebab kita tak faham. Tapi bila kita dah faham, it gives reason lah. Then kita macam selalu bila kita tahu apa punca masalah, dia akan datang bersama dengan cadangan-cadangan solution yang kita boleh cuba. So bila ada solution, nampak jalan tu, bolehlah kita cuba kan, cara pertama, cara kedua, cara ketiga, dan selalunya dalam 5 kaedah tu salah satunya akan berjaya lah untuk kita mengurangkan masalah-masalah yang dalam kita nak manage baby kita masa tu. In fact even for toddlers and kanak-kanak pun.
Okay. On that note, we'll take a short break and we will be back to discuss further issues about sensory processing and in the context of Mental Health Awareness Month. We'll see you after the break. Selamat kembali ke Kita Family Podcast. Hari ini kami sedang membincangkan sensory processing in conjunction with Sensory Processing Month dan juga Mental Health Awareness Month. Ini adalah bulan Oktober. So, kami mempunyai satu peluang untuk membincangkan correlation kedua-dua konsep ini pada hari ini. Kami juga sedang membincangkan apa yang kami boleh lakukan sebagai seisi keluarga ataupun parent kepada anak yang mempunyai gangguan pemprosesan sensori. So to start that, kita akan tanya dengan kakak SK dulu. Sebab sebelum saya tanyakan, saya akan ceritakan sedikit. Semasa anak saya ni, Ref, dia lebih kurang 4 atau 5 tahun, dia memang mempunyai macam fobia berkenaan dengan clowns. Kalau bawa dia pergi mana-mana birthday party, dia memang okey. Tetapi dia, kalau dia dah nampak pasal clown, he will go berserk. Sampai saya kena bawa dia masuk kereta dan tidak dapat socialize seperti orang lain. So saya mula bertanyalah, adakah parti ni ada clown, pukul berapa. So that was the sort of thing I did to manage the expectation, because when a child is sitting in the car crying, trust me, as a mummy sitting in that car, you want to cry too. So kakak, that's just an example, but there's so many other examples of people wanting to taste or spitting out food or not liking textures, and then others wanting to bite things like rocks that they're not supposed to bite, and then you know, things like that. So how would a parent or caregiver or anybody in the family help with such sensory seeking behavior?
Okay. Maybe nanti kami dengar juga cerita Desiree yang nice contrast, but just to in reply, kalau clown tu, there are many possible many dynamic changes in a clown. Warna muka dia lah, suara clown tu lah, mungkin the child associate the clown ada balloon lah. So there are many stimulation. So jikalau anak tu cannot respond to the overstimulation, that's why dia akan rasa cemas. Yeah, dalam rasa kecemasan itu, it may possible then translate to what we recognize as a tantrum, kan? So when anak cemas, actually, what you described tu, ibu pun cemas.
Yeah.
Kan? Not only ibu cemas, and I believe each and every one of us pernah dalam situasi ni. Kawan-kawan sekalian next to us pun cemas juga.
Ya, sebagai host pun mereka cemas.
Exactly.
Apakah parti ni menjadikan anak tu sangat trauma sampai menangis dan kena dalam kereta?
So dalam situasi ni, that's why having awareness of what may trigger or what overstimulate the child, as a parent, we can be more careful, to be aware and guard the child not to go into that situation where that whole situation becomes a cycle, right? So for example, what you did is excellent at that time. Just remove the stimulation away from the child. Sama ada clown ke ataupun things that are unexpected lah. Actually sebenarnya is the unexpectedness of the situation is translated to a overstimulation. Yeah. But I love to hear the contrast. Tadi kami ada bincang. Desiree, you have an interesting
contrast.
Okay.
For Hans.
Firstly, I want to acknowledge Nero's fear of clowns because I'm not a fan of clowns either, thanks to the horror movie It. But that aside, Hans memang suka, he's not really been exposed to clowns per se, tetapi anything that is furry, in a costume. Contohnya, there was one time they had an Elmo in school for another boy's birthday, and bila tengok gambar dari sekolah, bagaikan Hans punya birthday lah. Sebab dia suka sangat dengan Elmo. Even I think saya pernah ceritakan in our episode on Chinese New Year tentang lion dance. Hans suka sangat dengan the lion, the texture yang berbulu. So for me, although it's great, he likes this, tetapi ada juga rasa cemas when I'm in mall, for example, and for example, lion dance. It's an art form where there are multiple people under the lion. So cuba bayangkan kalau Hans lari and one of them falls, right? So that also sometimes results in me having to remove him from those areas and situations, but with the opposite effect where he doesn't calm down, but he gets agitated and then goes into a tantrum because I'm taking him away from the thing that he wants. Ideally, kita tak nak lah. Kita tak nak prevent them from getting the sensory seeking thing that they want. Tetapi in public situations, I want to acknowledge that a lot of times we parents have to make that call. We have to decide, okay, this is dangerous to the general public, right? So we need to remove them from the situation. So memang, but to answer kakak's question, yes, so Hans is on the opposite side. He's a sensory seeker. Memang suka sangat any kind of bear ke, badut ke. He hasn't seen a badut, but I believe he would really like a clown. And another one is balloons.
Yes.
Mak dia takut dengan balloons, tapi dia suka sangat. And he loves it. I think he loves it even more because of the fact that when it pops, it freaks me out. Lagi dia suka.
Okay, so we're going to go to Didi because I think Didi has some experience on Deria rasa, being picky eaters.
Yes.
So let's hear from you, Didi.
Especially the eldest lah. Hari ni banyak cakap pasal Afia. Sorry Afia. She is a very picky eater up until now. In fact masa kecil-kecil pun kan kita try introduce many type of baby food. Kita nampak lah daripada awal lagi dia dah ada preference macam nak makan yang tu je, tak nak ubah-ubah sangat. And recently I did ask lah, I tanyalah because dia sekarang dah mula nak cuba makanan baru dan dia tak marah lah kalau I cakap cubalah. So dia cuba tapi masih 80% of the time dia reject lah, but 20% makanan baru tu still adalah new makanan. Kalau tak still makanan yang sama. So I tanya dia kenapa dulu tak nak, macam contoh kan dulu kalau spaghetti bolognese tu dia boleh makan yang I masak guna Prego dekat rumah dengan dari secret recipe je. Tapi kalau kita pergi restoran, kan banyak restoran spaghetti bolognese ni memang standard kan, memang akan ada. Dia tak boleh terima. So now dah boleh. And then banyak makanan-makanan lain pun, tempura dia dah cuba, dah boleh, sushi pun dah boleh. So I tanyalah, kenapa dulu cuba pun tak nak? Macam dia tengok dia tak nak. And then dia cakap, because of the look.
Interesting.
So much of we thought it's all because of the taste.
Yes.
It's because of the look. Mata pun it starts dengan mata dulu. So kalau mata rasa tak lulus, tak nak cuba. And then it seems that dia akan lebih mudah untuk mencuba makanan baru bila dia happy.
Okay.
In a new environment, bila dia excited. So kalau hari-hari yang dia katalah dia penat sekolah ke apa ke, and kita nak cuba introduce makanan baru, no, tak boleh. She will stick to the same makanan yang dia dah biasa.
Okay.
So I always like macam bila nampak dia happy, kita ambil peluang lah. Why don't you try? So it's very interesting lah. Like all this while kan we thought that macam she will never improve kan, dia punya selection of food dia kan macam tu je. Kita pun nak paksa-paksa pun dia dah besar. But it seems that boleh. But ada juga makanan yang dia makan dan dia tak nak makan sebab benda lain, which is bukan sensory. This is very interesting story. Masa dia kecil dia suka makan broccoli. So I selalu buat sup sayur ada broccoli, dia makan. And dia berhenti makan broccoli sebab this movie Inside Out, ada broccoli pizza, and Riley cakap ew. So since then until now dia dah tak nak makan broccoli.
Interesting.
So it's not because of this. So sebenarnya sensory pun memberikan halangan, cabaran kepada kita. So ada lagi benda-benda lain yang boleh membuatkanlah pengalaman anak kita ni, membuatkan mereka itulah tak nak makan broccoli. Dah lah sayur lain pun lagi lah tak nak makan. But of course we will try to introduce lagi, sebab at least dia tak kisah kita satu meja makan makanan yang lain, makanan yang dia tak suka, even durian pun dia tak kisah. So sebab ada masa-masa kan, I remember sekali tu I tengah pergi, masa tu I think it was dekat kedai sushi, tiba-tiba dia ambil my tempura daripada my plate tau, dia ambil makan. I macam masa tu kontrol muka, jangan muka teruja sangat lah supaya nanti dia macam kan tak jadi ambil makan. Tapi it happen. So sensory ni so much of kita rasa kalau dia tak suka, kita nak protect dia daripada benda dia tak suka tu, tak boleh juga. Tapi at the same time kita kena respect. Kalau memang benda tu macam sangat-sangat dia tak boleh tahan, kita tak payah paksa lah. Contoh macam bunyi kuat kan, both my daughters dia tak suka sangat bunyi kuat. Tapi kalau firework, adik suka, dia suka tengok. Dia tak kisah. Macam kita lah, kita tak suka bunyi bising-bising, tapi kalau ada konsert penyanyi yang kita minat, kita boleh pergi.
Oh boleh.
Kan.
Boleh
So
je.
it's based on interest juga. So I guess dalam kita nak expose, kan kita tak nak lah anak kita sampai bila-bila tak tahan dengan stimulation tu kan. Kita nak expose dia orang. Kita mak ayah ni kena cuba carilah dia interest. Kan, kalau contoh tak suka panas, tak suka pergi outdoor kan, tapi dia suka haiwan, kita pergilah dekat zoo kan panas, tapi kalau dia suka haiwan, so mungkin dia boleh tahan lah panas tu.
Yep.
Tahan sebab suka haiwan. So those kita nak pairkan the experience kan, the not so good experience with the more exciting experience, so that they can hopefully can tolerate more things lah in life.
Yeah. So kakak wanted to
actually just to tambahkan as I listen to your stories, sebenarnya what I believe enable the individual to overcome is when they feel safe. Whatever we try to expose them to the uncomfortable thing, slowly dia akan dapat, they feel safe. And when they feel safe, they feel happier. You know, when you gave the contoh where when she's happier, she can address the challenges more. Okay? It's because then when you feel safe, or actually it's better when you feel happy.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important to keep our emotion, and part of doing sensory exposure, we have the word called regulating the emotion, not only regulating the body. So actually in the end of the day, being aware of all the sensory challenges too, is to be able to respond to, if you remember earlier when we started, I mentioned these are natural defense mechanisms of the body. So when the body recognizes that it is safe, then we can be challenged. Kan? So I love your story to remind us, be curious as parents, as carers. The example dari food tu, bukan dari segi rasa dia aja. Then there is the texture.
Yeah.
But what you shared with us too, Didi, is even the visual.
Yes.
Macam mana, how does it look?
Yeah, because you just shared during the break that some of these neurodivergent kids like fast food. Yeah. And why is that, kakak?
I think it's consistent.
Okay, the taste is consistent.
I
It looks
have to say,
consistent.
The fast food, because the way fast food is produced tu, dia memang perlu ada satu proses kan. Box dia warna ni, shape dia warna ni. Whereas kalau kami as parents want to have very natural food, the broccoli hari ni macam ni. So actually,
size pun lain, colour pun lain.
There's a reason. Kalau fast food tu, dia memang sudah more tetap lah ya. Warna dia lagi tetap. So the structure comes. Yeah, although we are not, please, not promoting fast food, yeah.
No, we're not. But we're just trying to find a reason as to why some kids just like fast food.
Yeah, that's right. So,
yes, Desiree.
So
Sorry.
I was going to share pasal picky eating as well, because Hans pun dia masa kecil-kecil, and his picky eating was very healthy at that time. Memanglah when he was picky eater, very healthy, and to a point where it also took a toll on me, sebab benda yang dia boleh makan adalah benda yang saya yang masak.
Okay.
Sahaja dengan yogurt.
Okay.
So the flavoured yogurt kan. So dalam peti ais saya memanglah kalau pergi ke hypermarket, belilah satu bag besar of the yogurt and porridge that I would hand mash. Dia ada broccoli, meat, carrot, semualah. Dan dia akan makan. So keluar pun kena bawa, bila keluar pun kena bawa, have to pack his food everywhere we go kan. So actually it's quite, and I want to give a shout out to parents yang masih membuat ni. Memang I want to acknowledge it is very tiring, it is very troublesome, and we do go through days where we're like, alah tak nak lah keluar, kena pack, might as well just eat at home and then go out kan. Tetapi as time went by, walaupun saya try to introduce new foods to Hans, dan sebenarnya Hans ada masalah-masalah yang lain lah selain daripada the picky eating. The reasons behind the picky eating were also he had tongue tie, he had swollen adenoids dan sebagainya. So after settling all that, saya cubalah introduce new food to him. with no success. So memanglah rasa sakit hati as a mom. Then I realise sebenarnya dia boleh je try new food. You know what was the answer? It couldn't come from me.
Oh, someone else had
Orang
to give.
lain yang kena
Oh.
bagi. So it was the dad and the grandma and the grandfather lah yang introduce Hans kepada new food. And I think it goes back to what Didi said pasal Ofia pun in a good mood kan. So generally bila the father, grandfather, grandmother looks after Hans, they are generally in a happier mood compared to the mom yang
Display.
some days
Penat.
some days penat, some days happy, some days nak menangis, some days marah, right? So I was very unpredictable to him. So the only predictable thing during mealtime was the food taste, texture, colour dan sebagainya. So when other people introduce him new food, boleh je. So sampai ke tahap sekarang Hans boleh makan actually anything. And now I can even introduce new foods to him and dia boleh terima. So kepada parents that are going through this, kalau anak anda pun macam Hans, janganlah kecil hati. Bukan sebab anak kita tak sayang kita. They have their own reasons kan. There are certain things memang mum je yang boleh buat. Tapi there are certain things they want to do with other people.
Yeah. So that's a good way of saying please just accept it and don't get into a depression. And I know now there's a lot of support groups out there.
Yep.
Can Didi, I think you are also part of one. And do they share these sensory processing issues in those support groups?
Of course, because kalau dulu kita banyak cakap pasal behaviour. Kalau anak saya macam ni, apa perlu saya buat? It's more on macam dulu orang akan cakap, kita buat ABC kan, antecedent, behaviour, consequence. Like tengok macam apa kita nak react macam mana. And it's always like behaviour training lah. But lately, especially like if I come across the questions and then I can see also other people would come up with connection to sensory. Oh, dia macam ni, mungkin anak you perlukan gini. Macam contoh, anak saya, contoh soalan kan, anak saya suka memanjat. Saya risaulah ada pernah TV jatuh lah, apalah kan. So, what do we do? Macam mana nak ajar anak supaya tidak memanjat? So, kalau dari segi behaviour, ialah instruction wise lah, apalah. Tapi kalau dari segi sensory, kita kan cakap lah, bila dia suka memanjat tu, they need the input of dia nak panjat tu proprioception dia kan. Dia perlu ada aktiviti macam mana yang nak bagikan input pada dia punya joints kan. Itu yang I cakap lah, mungkin kita boleh buat wheelbarrow. Tapi I pun perlu tekankan juga benda-benda ni perlu age appropriate. Kalau anak tu kecil, kita bolehlah wheelbarrow. Kalau anak tu dah besar macam ni, Raf, takkan nak
Tak
wheelbarrow
boleh.
lagi kan.
No, and I want to give a big shout out to Nori, and she's not with us today, and how she deals with Timo sometimes, and he's sensory seeking for ice.
Yes.
And she's always carrying a jar with her so that when Timo needs it, he gets to have his ice. And that harms nobody, and that makes him happy.
Yeah.
Kan ada solution dia. We put in yang insulated thermos ke apa kan, so it keeps like the ice stay cold and everything. So sometimes the solution is not through behavior training, but it actually gives you the insight, not insight but information on what the child actually needs. Dia nak perlukan apa. So itu yang kita panggil sensory diet kan. Kalau anak macam ni dia perlu apa. Ada tu yang cakap, anak saya suka ketuk-ketuk barang kuat-kuat. Rupanya dia suka bunyi yang kuat. So kita cakap lah, okay, apa suggestion. Because ini benda-benda yang kita suggest tu dia tidaklah clinical dan boleh cuba di rumah lah. And in fact, kalau kita Google dekat internet pun memang ada banyak lah like solution and also explanation. Kalau anak yang suka melompat, kenapa? What could be the reason and what can be the solution? And then kalau anak yang macam contoh anak saya dulu, dia bila bangun pagi je dia akan sangat grumpy. So what I did masa tu, it may sound kasar, and masa dia kecil kita boleh buat lah. Masa besar susah sikit lah sebab it's not age appropriate. So I would carry her and crash her on a bean bag. So Lepas lepas tu dia akan bangun, and then I just push her back, jatuh lagi kan. Dalam 3 kali, lepas tu dia terus bangun. Yang kali ketiga tu dia bangun, senyum and terus masuk toilet. Okay, ready nak mandi, nak pergi sekolah.
Yeah.
So she need that kind of input.
Yeah, Didi sebenarnya that pressure can be age appropriate under adult actually, Didi.
Yes.
You know,
Yes, tapi cara dia lain lah kan.
correct. So actually, the Western phrase for that is the rough play.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sand play can be rough play too.
housing.
That's right. The rough housing.
Rough housing.
Rough
kan?
housing.
Yes.
They actually are inviting the sense of pressure. Yeah. So we can always remember, actually, as we get older and older, sometimes we lose our play.
Yes.
Sebenarnya, it is good to continue to have these pressure delivering games, if you call it.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember when we were talking about panjat too. Joshua is very sensory seeking in terms of sense of pressure. So he would enjoy rock climbing. Yeah. So this is something the family can do together.
Yeah.
As a family, rock climbing. But if I move forward a little bit about pressure, just bagi lagi contoh. Because he loves pressure, he naturally, kalau jumpa orang baru, siapa-siapa pun, dia suka peluk. Dia akan pelukkan even new people. And when you talk about age appropriate, bila dia masih anak-anak, you don't think about it too much.
Yes.
Yeah. But as he was approaching 10 and coming into teens, the social appropriateness too start to come in.
Yeah.
And in a way, I felt a little bit sad, but we had to kind of show him this thing about which is appropriate social circle. Kan? But we knew and we know that action of peluk anybody that he meets is also part of his sensory needs. So how we translate that now is we have to show similar action lah. Similar action. Kalau tak peluk, the old-fashioned handshake.
Yes.
Ramai orang sekarang tak buat handshake. But for Malaysia, actually even the salam, actually there is a pressure
Yes.
kan on your chest. Yeah. So
Yes.
all these are very interesting, what we call daily activity that us family parents can do when we are aware. So I love how you keep reminding all of us, once we are aware, it's just daily life actions.
So similarly, I think what we were discussing during the break, if the beach and sand is not something that the kids can deal with, it's probably not the right place to go for a holiday, because if the sand is going to cause sensory processing disruption. And so what would be your suggestion, let's say, Desiree, if, and how do you overcome that? Do you just keep taking the kid to a sand pit like they do in the foreign countries? Because if you go to Australia and the UK and America, a lot of their playgrounds have sand pits. And I remember thinking the first time when I brought the kids back, I said, oh my God, macam mana nak basuh baju ni? Pasir everywhere. But they had a ball.
Yes.
Yeah.
So first thing I want to ucapkan terima kasih kepada OT Hans sebab I am very, very dependent on her and her team when it comes to his sensory needs. So Hans pun masa kecil-kecil memang tak suka sand. But now throw him in sand and he won't come out kan. So I guess what I would like to tell other people out there is the profile changes. So maybe now Hans memang suka sand, tetapi there may come a time dia tiba-tiba tak suka pula.
Yeah.
So I need to firstly mentally prepare myself for anything is possible lah. Kan? And ini bukan sahaja dengan kanak-kanak yang neurodivergent. Saya rasa kanak-kanak yang neurotypical pun parents go through phases with their children where they change.
Yeah.
over time. It is human nature. Kan? So if you know your child doesn't like sand, but all your other children nak pergi for beach holiday, I'm not saying jangan pergi langsung pergi, tetapi cubalah cari aktiviti di mana maybe your child who doesn't like sand pergi main dekat swimming pool and the rest go to the beach. Kan? So it can be done. Dan kita ni di Malaysia saya rasa memang sangat kreatif lah.
Yeah.
We are also very people pleasing by nature. So memang if there's a will, there's a way. Literally, we as parents and as Malaysians, we are very creative. We will find a way around it.
Okay. Didi, any...
That's the thing kan. Itulah nak cerita pasal pasir pantai ni. You just imagine, kita dah duduk di Kota Kinabalu Sabah for 9 months. Dia dah bulan ke-10. Even around KK pun ada pulau-pulau yang cantik yang kita boleh pergi naik boat je dah sampai. Tapi anak-anak masih tak mahu pergi ke mana-mana pulau. Let alone pulau dekat Sempurna tu, yang dekat ni pun tak nak pergi. And then a few weeks ago kita pergi dinner by the beach lah. It's sunset dinner. Cantik lah, we can see the water, the sunset, very beautiful. Ada pantai sikit lah sebab itu dalam kawasan hotel kan. They were not tempted at all to go to the water. Nak pergi dekat pasir pun tak nak langsung. Macam just tengok je. And I realised that bila fikir balik, macam Amy, dia tak suka pasir dekat kaki. Kan bila kaki dah basah and pasir tu melekat, dia tak suka. Kalau pasir tu kering, okay lagi. So, if you go to the beach, of course, you nak pergi dekat air. And then, so dia tak suka. And then, kakak dia pula, if I recall balik, dulu kita pernah pergi mandi dekat pantai. Dia tak suka air masin. She is a very good swimmer. She can swim very well. Tapi, sebab dia tak suka air masin.
And rasa dia kan?
So dia tak suka, dia tak ada macam, kita pergi pantai je, jalan-jalan tepi, kita parking tepi, just tengok, they enjoy the view, tapi tak excited nak pergi dekat air, nak jalan-jalan ke apa, tak ada. Never like that. So
mandi laut tu
swimming pool boleh, mandi laut tapi itulah mak dia lah nak tunggu geng lah, siapa kawan-kawan datang nak pergi juga pulau. I really want to have the experience, but kita make do lah. Anak tak suka, cari geng lain lah, ataupun pergi honeymoon dengan daddy je. Dia je best.
Time for kita family to go to KK for holiday.
Kita pergi island hopping kan nanti. So it's not just because of the processing. Lama-lama dia jadi preference. Yang the individual preference lah, because preference can be due to anything, can be because of interest, because of past experience. So kita perlu hormat lah, as much as we want to expose anak kita to all experience, there are things yang kita perlu hormat jugalah, that kita tak boleh nak langgar kan.
So kakak, any final words?
I love that we learn to not just have behavior observation, but we are sensitive to all the senses. And with that, there's a solution. Be curious.
Be curious. So for all parents who have children who are undergoing some sort of sensory processing disorders, don't give up. There are solutions, as Kakak says. And sometimes it's a preference. Accept your child for their choice. And as Desiree says, it gets better. Things change. They are evolving. And one day they might like exactly what, and surprise you. And, suddenly they like something that you thought they didn't like ever. In all this, when it comes to Mental Health Awareness Month, if any of you require help, please go and seek help, whether it's a call to the Befrienders or anywhere else, and just know that you're not alone. And when it comes to sensory processing, I mean, we all have our success stories, from anak yang tak boleh duduk diam untuk potong rambut, suddenly they are choosing the kind of hairstyle they want, and they are willing to stand there. Some who cannot stand the sound of hair dryers are suddenly very happy and using one to style their hair. So don't give up, and we keep going. With that, thank you so much for watching us on Kita Family Podcast episode 34. Please like, share and subscribe on all our social media platforms. And we really like to hear from you. And till the next time, thank you. Bye.
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 Bye.